Good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining. And on this meeting, we will have our fifth topic, and our fifth topic will be the consummation of our coverage for our midterm. Okay, so next week we will be having our midterm. The same time na lang din po, 11 a.m. ang start natin, and then we will have it up until a certain time. So we will have for today optimal input selection, and we will cover the following things: optimal input selection, key inputs, an example, and then relative prices. So first, let's define optimal input selection. Okay. So most production processes, several different combinations of input will yield a specified level of output. Okay. And then, for example, farm equipments can be built for use by skilled workers if it's a labor-intensive process, okay, or by highly specialized robots, meaning this is a fully automated farm setup, okay. Capital intensive naman pagka ganun, ano. So you select between the two, either it's labor-intensive or capital-intensive, okay. Or you can have a combination of the two. Okay. The major message is that a firm will select inputs based on relative prices. In low income nations where labor is inexpensive, the business firms most often employ a labor intensive production process. Whereas in high income nations, labor is often expensive. Okay? Kasi high income nation sila. And therefore, capital intensive productions or automation is being used. Okay. So later on, we will fully understand what this means. Okay. So here are a couple of examples of key inputs in farms. No? Example lang naman yan. Ano? This may vary from one setting to another, and then from one time to another. Okay. But the most common, of course, and again, basic would be the seed, the fertilizers, pesticides. I think it's inevitable. Okay. Medyo challenging if we are going to try and produce a fully organic um, output. Okay. Or there is no such. It's going to be a tough um, endeavor if 100% organic. Okay. So and then you would need farm power machinery, and then of course you would need capital. So here in comes yung credit and wage rates. Okay, so we have an example here which is a flour mill. So ito yung nakikita yung image dito. Ito siguro yung mga sinauna na ways ano kapag ka nanood ka ng mga movie na yung mga prehistoric or even during the early times of civilization. Ganyan yung technology nila of flour milling. Or you have an alternative which is yung meron kang mortar and pestle, right? So napakatrabaho nun. Imagine mo, ang liit lang ng mortar and pestle or kahit lakyan mo, it's going to be very labor intensive, right? And through the years, it has evolved into many iterations. So meron ka nakikita na this can be produced in certain farms, no? You just have to produce this type of machine and then i-rotate mo na lang siya, no? Mas mapapabilis yung milling, or if you have lots of capital, no? Therefore, you can really make a full uh, setup na wherein there are machines lalagay mo na lang yung palay or kung ano mang crop, and then it would already um, do its process no, of milling. Okay? Now, in terms of economics, nabanggit natin noong nakaraan, um, always no constant yung iyong mga sources of capital or yung iyong resources, no? It could be machines, buildings, tools, equipment, and then machinery. This often substitutes labor or workers. Now, a flour mill can use many possible combinations of machine and labor. So, pwede mong pagpalit-palitin. Again, it depends on the location and the availability of resources. Okay, to grind wheat or other grains into flour. For example, the mill can use four workers and one machine. Ano? Pwedeng combination. Ano? Hindi naman 100% uh, machine o di kaya 100% workers. Pwedeng combination of the two. Kasi again, what we're trying to understand here is the optimal input, no? Ano ba yung dapat na input na gawin natin so we can determine, ano? And this is going to be based from the output na tina-target natin. So we will select from the various inputs na pwede natin gawin. It could be human labor, it could be machines. Yung dalawa na yun, or a combination of both. So, two workers and two machines. So, napansin ninyo, marami siyang option eh. Pwedeng four workers and one machine, or pwede namang two workers and two machines. To produce, pareho lang yung output, 105-pound bags of flour during a regular working day. So, in a day's time, meron kang target which is 105-pound bags of flour. So, marami kang options on how you could reach a certain output. And it's, again, a combination of machines and labor. So the mill manager must hire workers and a mill location and machinery to produce flour from wheat. The key idea here is that there are several possible production processes for producing flour. So here we have a graph, and in this figure, each axis represents one input in the production process. No? So um, pwedeng capital, again, machines, or labor workers. Okay? So pareho siyang input regardless of the axis. And then the points within the quadrant represents the output. So itong mga points na to would represent the output. The issue centers on selecting the profit maximizing combination of two inputs rather than the optimal level of one input. So hindi natin habol dito na i-optimize yung certain input or certain axis, but rather what we are trying to know is what are the combinations na meron tayo or alternatives. So think of it this way, ano, yung sabi natin kanina, pwedeng four workers and one machine or two workers and two machines. So you have those options, right? Maganda yan kasi for example, yung isa sa dalawa yung machines mo, no? Yung isa kailangan niya ng downtime dahil may repair. So what this means is that one machine na lang yung is operational. So what you would do is you would use another two workers, no? Or mag-add ka ng workers for a certain period. And hindi ka na mangangapa kasi you already know this combination of inputs, no? The combination of machines and labor. So alam mo na. So kagaya niyan, no? If you have two machines, no, example lang dito sa graph natin. Two machines, two workers. One machine, four workers. So kapag may ganyan ka, alam mo na kagad kung ano yung dapat mong gawin at a given time. Kunwari naman ay nag-leave yung dalawa mong workers. No, sabi we will be gone for a month. So what this means is that kailangan 100% functional yung machines ko at that period. No, yung buwan na yon na mawawala yung dalawang workers ko, they have filed a leave of absence and kailangan walang magiging aberya sa aking dalawang machines because this is my basis for optimal input, no. Kumbaga na ano mo na siya, na plan mo na siya ahead. Okay? Now, this graph shows an isoquant. Okay? Ito yung isoquants, yung variable of inputs, no, which relates to two variable inputs to a given level of output. Isoquants are lines indicating all combinations of two variable inputs that will produce a given level of output. Okay? So itong graphing style na ginawa natin, no, and these lines is what you call the isoquant. Okay? Why isoquant? The prefix iso refers to the same kasi nga kahit saan mo naman siya igalaw doon sa iyong para siyang no, para siyang production possibilities, kaya nga lang ang output niya ay iisa lang. Hindi kagaya ng production possibilities, nag-iiba yung output. Okay? So dito variable yung input with the same output. Okay? Prefix iso refers to same or equal, and quant refers to the numerical value of output. Therefore, the term isoquant means equal quantity of output. So, pare-pareho lang ang output. But you can change your input. And an isoquant is a line on which every point refers to the same level of output. The figure shows two possible production methods for the flour mill. Suppose that there are several other combinations of labor and capital that could produce the same level of output. Okay. Every point on the isoquant, the curved line in the figure represents the same level of output. So output mo 100 5-pound bags of flour. Okay. This isoquant shows the capital and labor are sustainable, and then a flour mill can use any combinations of capital, machines, and labor workers on the isoquant to produce the same quantity of flour. So efficient firm managers will recognize the potential for substitution among inputs. So again, if your aim is efficiency, walang downtime, sigurado tayo na year-round meron tayong sufficient workers, no? Sufficient machines. So dapat meron ka ng plotted na ganito para at any time alam mo rin kung paano ka mag-move around kapag ka may mga situations na nag-arise, no? Kahit saan naman yan applied yan like for example sa work, yung leaves they have to be planned eh. Yan ang ayaw ng mga managers, yung unplanned leave, yung biglaan ka na lang na ay hindi ako makakapasok, pasensya na, no? Pag nag-work na kayo, maiintindihan niyo yan. Ang leave sa amin kailangan nga at least 15 days to a month ahead bago mo sabihin, bago mo i-file so that they can wiggle with the schedule. Kasi pag sabay-sabay kayo nag-leave, example yan, ba kagaya ngayon, kaka 13th month pa lang or kaka 14th month. Minsan ginagawa ng iba pagkatapos niyan, sabay-sabay hindi papasok, sabay-sabay absent. So magiging problem ngayon ng isang operations yung tao dahil sabay-sabay silang nag-absentan eh, right? Kaya meron silang mga proper performance management systems na nakalagay diyan, para maiwasan. Minsan naglalabas sila ng memo before yung mga payday na ganyan malaki. Pag umabsent ka, meron kang ganitong punishment or meron kang ganitong repercussion. Final warning ka kagad. Pwede kang ma-terminate, so on and so forth. No? So ganun din, no? If we are aiming for efficiency, kailangan meron ka ng ganitong system, which is for profit maximizing. No? Input selection, combination of inputs. Numerous combination of inputs can produce a given quantity of most agricultural products. So even in corn, soybean producers in Iowa, they can use different combinations of land, machinery, chemicals, and labor to produce given quantities of corn and soybeans. So notice na itong curve natin, sabi nga natin kanina, no, the output is constant. no? Kahit saan siya mapunta dito sa curve na to. The farther you go, no, yung in your graph, no, the farther you go, let's say you move upper rightwards na direction, it pertains to larger outputs. Okay? Pero yung movement, if it's in the same curve, same lang ang output niya. Okay? Sana naintindihan nyo, no? Ito, same lang ang output nito. Pero pag minove na natin yung curve paakyat, dito, iba ng output ang pinag-uusapan natin. No? We're talking of 2,000 bushels of wheat. Pag minove pa ulit natin ng one tier up, 3,000 bushels of wheat. Kasi magmo-move din yung kanyang capital at labor requirements. Okay? I hope you understand that. The figure introduces another feature of isoquants and several isoquants representing a different level of output, often drawn together as the map. And then the isoquants farther from the origin represent larger outputs, gaya na nabanggit ko kanina. And then the ones that are close to the origin, moving outward from the origin and passing through isoquants, shows the increase in output and also the combination of inputs. Output increases with the movement to the northeast in the graph. So northeast direction yan. Ano? Since more input results in more outputs. Okay? So I have a question for everyone. Ano? Pwede kahit sa chat nyo na lang ako sagutin. So, with this, why do the producers in different nations use drastically different types of technology? Bakit merong countries na fully, kasi pinag-aralan natin kanina, no? And you pwede naman kahit alin yung combination between the two. Pero bakit merong countries, no, na different types of technology ang ginagamit nila? Meron sa kanila na purely labor intensive, walang machines involved, at meron naman na purely automated, no? At maliit na lang na percentage yung labor. Okay? So maybe you can answer me kahit through chat. So I would know ano ang tingin ninyo sa ano ang sa tingin ninyo tamang sagot dito sa tanong na to. Okay, sabi ni Christopher, mas less yung cost ng technology, no? Angeline about efficiency. So siguro mas efficient sa kanila, no? Although kanina yung tinitingnan natin yung graph, kahit saan ka naman mag-move doon, you will reach the same output eh. So in terms of efficiency, you just need to have this map out para alam mo kung ano yung available resources mo. Pwede mo silang i-deploy. No, I have 2 machines right now. Kailangan ko na lang ng 2 workers. So I have only 1 machine available. We will have to increase the workers. Kulang din sa labor yung ibang bansa na more on technology. Okay. So that's good. Okay, how about the others? Okay na, yun na ba ang answer nyo? Ay, nasabi na po ni Christopher at saka ni Angeline. Okay, sige. Sige, let me go back here. I wanted to show you something. Okay, sige. Mas mabilis po ang production. So I would guess if that's automated. Ano. So ito yung countries ranked by labor cost. Okay? So top 20 countries with the highest minimum wage as of 2020. So Australia talaga number 1 yan. Totoo yan. Kaya nga, ewan ko, puro praises talaga kasi, no? Kasi nung nagpunta talaga ako, feeling ko nasa ibang planeta ako, no? When I went there. Basta wala akong makitang issue sa kalsada, libre yung transportation, there's wifi everywhere, tapos ang babait ng mga tao, yung mga ganun, ano, talagang very efficient sila. No? Tapos talagang may long-term plan kasi makikita mo no, sabi nga nila tingnan mo yung kalsada ng bansa or ng isang lugar, alam mo na may long-term planning talaga. Kasi hindi sila kagaya dito na tuwing bago mag-election or every year may bakbakan ng kalsada, no? Bakbakan ng kalsada. So, may mga taga Santa Maria ba dito? Sa Santa Maria, yung mga kalsada parang sinuntok ni Goku yung itsura kahit saan ako magpunta. Kaya nakakainis kasi ang lakas makasira ng sasakyan nun Lalo na pag baha, hindi mo makikita no biglang mayroon palang sobrang lalim may sinuntok si Goku doon kaya mahuhulog. May iwan na tayo. So ganun So going back. Sa Australia, $14.54 ang kanilang minimum wage. So ilagay ko na lang sa 15 So that's 750 pesos roughly. Minimum wage yun ikaw ay isang normal na trabahador. So 750 pesos. Pero mataas din kasi yung cost of living. So it just equates. Tayo daw ay from 4 for non-agricultural wage in Ilocos and then 10 if in Metro Manila. So dito tayo nagfo-fall okay na rin naman. Ka-level natin yung Germany, Canada, San Marino, so on and so forth. Okay. And we're talking of minimum wage. Kasi baka sabihin nyo, ay, sobrang taas pala ng sahod natin dito. Not necessarily. Minimum wage yung pinag-uusapan natin. Yung variance niyan from lowest to highest, ibang usapan yun. Pero ito, I would like to show you something. I have these sources for labor costs. Okay? So, ito, reliable sources yan kasi lahat yan talagang economics organizations to So, let me open this one. Nakikita nyo, no? Can you see this?
Yes po, sir.
So, same, Australia is really at the top. 105 points. May Philippines ba dito? Wala, no? Letter P, Poland, saka Portugal. So, walang Philippines. This is from Trading Economics. Okay? Let me go back. Let me go to the second source. Global economy, business and economic data for 200 countries. So let's look. Pareho rin, Australia pa rin ang number 1. Sa kanila, 137.6 points. May Philippines ba? Wala, no?
Wala po.
Wala po.
War.
Okay. So let me go to my third source. Sa Ilostat. International Labor Organization. So ito, kaya may variation kasi yung latest data nila 2017 pa. So medyo outdated na to. Walang Philippines, no? Yan. And then my final, OECD, Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development, no? Ginamit natin to dun sa previous topic previous subject natin couple of semesters ago. So this is OECD's data. Wala pa ring Philippines. Wala. Poland and Portugal lang. Bakit wala ang Philippines sa lahat ng mga economic data and statistics organizations worldwide? May idea ba kayo? Imagine magiging economics grad tayo, no, pero wala pala tayong data worldwide. Hindi tayo kasali. Okay. So remember yung pronouncement ni President Duterte? 'Di ba we have removed ourselves from the European Union and G20. So yun yung reason bakit wala tayong data kasi hindi we are no longer submitting and passing our data to economic bodies such as these, no? 'Di ba nung nakaraan ano nga G20 EU invitation, yun yung parang nag-news na nagtantrum si president tapos nag-middle finger pa siya, 'di ba? Hindi siya sumama. So yun yung mga reasons bakit wala tayo at hindi natin alam kung ano ba talaga ang ating labor cost unless there is an independent body who will check um, our current labor pricing, no? Kagaya nito, no? So yun yung problem, okay? But anyways, I'm just showing you na kasi may question ako kanina eh, di ba? Ang tanong ko sa inyo, why do producers in different nations use drastically different types of technology? So, in order to answer this, kailangan mo munang malaman ano bang labor cost sa Philippines, no? Or for any country. Kasi we're trying to understand kung ano ba yung bakit iba-iba ang ginagamit, no? Bakit merong labor intensive, bakit yung iba purely machine sila, so on and so forth. So, now that we know na iba-iba kasi ang labor costs eh. So, kagaya ng nabanggit kanina ni Christopher, no? Sabi ni Christopher kanina, um, less ang cost. Okay. So, I would agree with that, no? That's correct. Tama yun, ano? And there are several forces that pushes business to different points on isoquant. So, if you could see, as you move towards the isoquant, no, they would represent different inputs, different combination of inputs. So, ito daw pala, kapag higher ang machines at lower ang labor, it means that the country or the nation is a high income nation. So, ito yung mga tinturin na natin na first world countries. Ano? Kasi sinabi na natin kanina, kapag mataas ang automation at mahal ang labor cost. No, kagaya no sa Australia, 700 plus ang minimum wage nila. High income nation sila. So dito sila magfo-fall. No, ito yung combination nila. Mas madami ang machines at konti lang ang tao. Kasi mahal ang babayad mo sa tao eh. Kaya mag-machine ka na lang, right? Low income nations. Yan, Africa, Sub-Saharan, so on and so forth. I guess we would also qualify here, no? Mas marami ang labor, so it pertains to higher labor intensive, but lower ang availability of machines. Hindi naman natin pwedeng i-deny yan, di ba? Ano nga lang tayo, umaasa lang tayo sa mga bigay-bigay ng mga bansa, di ba? Mapa-vaccine, mapa-military equipment, puro ano mga pinaglumaan tayo, no, yung mga second hand. O may binigay na Navy ship, may binigay na helicopter, may binigay na ano, yun, pinagmamalaki natin yun, no, na, uy, meron kaming bagong ano, may bago kaming equipment, bigay ng ganitong bansa, no? Part yan ng visiting forces agreement, so on and so forth, no? So yun yung problem natin, no? Um, American agricultural firms are therefore likely to move towards using capital intensive, mas more on machine sila because they are high income nation, ano. So imagine meron silang geographical information system or satellite system. Maganda pagkaganyan kasi kumbaga very efficient yung weather forecast mo eh. Alam naman natin yung factor ng weather in agriculture, no. Kaya nga yan sana, although meron naman tayong idea kung kailan bumabagyo, pero parang kailangan pa natin talagang i-improve eh. Right? Kasi maraming beses tayo nako-caught off guard, like yung sa Yolanda, tapos yung hindi ko alam kung 2019 ba or 2020 na December na lang bumagyo pa ng matindi, no? Tapos matindi ang effects, no? So in Africa, labor is relatively less expensive than capital. So mas mura yung labor doon eh, at mas mahal kung magpuput up ka ng machines. Kasi ite-training mo yung tao, uh, kailangan mo rin ng equipment to put up those machines. So they tend to go to the labor extensive option. Okay? The opportunity cost of labor in many sub-Saharan African nations is quite low, near zero in some places. So, napag-aralan din natin yung opportunity cost in the past, di ba? So, kapag ka mababa ang opportunity cost, ibig sabihin, wala silang option. Right? Di ba, remember, tinanong ko kayo, kung if you are given an option, would you be in the agriculture or mag-ano kayo, kung ano yung gusto ninyong course? And wala namang pumili ng agri, di ba? So, sa kanila, mababa ang opportunity cost. Which means na wala silang option. Ang option lang nila is talagang ito, kung ano yung available sa paligid, maging uh, sa construction ka, o di kaya magtatanim tayo, bubungkal, etc. Ganun lang kasi ang available. Eh, no? Ayan, no? Near zero. So, kahit sa ibang lugar, wala. No? There's no option. Job opportunities are not high for a relatively unskilled and uneducated workforce. Therefore, the low-income nations of Africa as well as low-income nations in other parts of the world typically use labor-intensive techniques. So there's your answer. No? Nasaan ka ba sa Isoquant? No? Kasi kung saan ka nakalagay dyan, doon talaga mas nakafocus yung iyong production. Okay? Whether it's machine intensive or labor intensive. The choice of techniques, to answer the question, the choice of techniques depends on relative prices. Kaya nga nabanggit ni Christopher, no, price. Ang pinag-uusapan kasi natin, price. Pag mas mahal ang presyo ng machines and capital to put it up, we will go to labor. Pagka mas mahal naman ang minimum wage and labor cost sa bansa, meaning sila ay nasa class A, no? Mas mataas ang kanilang class. Then we will go the other route, which is yung automation. Ano? So different agricultural production techniques stem from different levels of technology. And agricultural producers can select between labor-intensive methods or capital-intensive technology. Again, hindi naman sa no, we're not trying to discount kung ano yung meron tayo. Kasi yun talaga available eh. Wala naman tayong magagawa doon ano. Or I'm sorry, hindi naman sa walang magagawa. Meron magagawa. Kaya nga lang it would take a lot of time and effort, no? And discipline para makamove tayo from being labor intensive to highly automated with machines and sufficient capital. Okay? So, relative prices ang answer doon. And magandang example yung car wash, ano? Kasi yan talagang kitang-kita mo yung difference eh. 'Di ba? Sa ibang bansa, meron yung express car wash na yung sa US. Pagka habang nagda-drive ka, gusto mo magpa-car wash, magda-drive-thru ka na lang. Hindi ka na lalabas, no? Baka nga ngayon, pati yung payment yan, automated. Eh. Parang i-scan na lang, ano? May card or something. Hindi ka na lalabas ng kotse, dadaan ka na lang, tapos may mga machines na naka-put up, walang tao, no? Or kung may tao, konti lang, nasa cashier lang, or yung taga-senyas lang, uy, pasok ka na, next, mga ganun lang. Pero walang magkukuskus ng kotse mo, yung machines ang magkukuskus niyan. 'Di ba may bubugahan ng tubig, tapos sabon, tapos dadaan ka dun sa machines na may mga roller na ayan, parang sinasabon at kinukuskus yung kotse mo. So ang express is $7, no? Roughly $7 to $10 yan eh. So nasa 350 pesos pag i-convert natin, ano. Express yun. So dadaan ka, pagkatapos dryer, paglabas mo, okay na, malinis na yung labas ng sasakyan. Pero dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, 'di ba, ang uso dito at madami yung 5 peso car wash. Na-try niyo na ba 'yon? Kasi ako madalas ako magganon eh. Versus dun sa yung 120 na car wash or 150 na ba? Dito sa amin marami, kahit saan ako pumunta, mga okay din yan, ano, kasi job opportunities yan for people. Tapos, kasi no, to further explain yung elaboration natin kanina, di ba? Labor versus capital. So ito, mas mura siya kasi 5 piso lang eh. Tapos yung machine niya is just yung pressurized water. Pero yung labor sa'yo, di ba? Kaya 5 piso lang siya kasi self-service. Ikaw ang magwiwisip, ikaw ang maglilinis. Pagka ano pa nga niyan, eh, feeling bayaman, no, 10 piso. Ay hindi, 10 piso ako. 2 rounds ang gagawin ko dyan. Sprayin niya muna. Tapos in between, sasabunan niya. Tapos another spray ulit. Okay, so ganun ang ginagawa. So you notice the drastic difference in pricing, di ba? 350 express, di ka kikilos, wala kang gagawin, you're just going to drive through. Or 5 pesos or 10 pesos, pero ikaw, self-service, no, labor intensive. I don't know kung hindi naman nakakapagod, no, pero it requires 100% of your labor. Ikaw mismo ang magtatrabaho. Okay. So with that, I am leaving you with an assignment. This is about robotics and automation in agriculture. This is already placed in your Google Classroom. Give me just a second.